So I haven't made a video for a while, and I thought it might be fun to talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the industry right now. Um, those who haven't met me, which is pretty much everybody since I haven't talked about myself a lot on the internet, my name is Ben, and I am a software engineer building web applications for an enterprise company. And there's a lot of talk going on about artificial intelligence these days and kind of how it's affecting our jobs, what the future holds, and I thought it might be fun to talk about some of that stuff. So, I've been developing applications for better part of 10 years. I've worked in the software industry since 2011, and I've been around quite a bit of different stuff when it comes to front end applications, back end code, data engineering, cloud infrastructure, all those kinds of things. So I thought it might be just interesting to share kind of my point of view on where things are at and where I think they're going right now. So, one of the big questions I think that's out there is sort of like, are we going to have jobs in a year? Are we going to have a job in 2 years? What does it look like for us to be software engineers in this new world of artificial intelligence? And there's a lot of fear going around, and I think rightfully so, just because, it's in a lot of ways pretty hard not to see the writing on the wall. We are not writing code the same way we used to. I can say, at least for myself, I'm working with Copilot and Claude every single day, and I'm trying to find new ways to interact with them and have agents take more and more of the lifting of the regular day-to-day code that I used to write. So what's that really mean? Well, I'm just simply not writing code the same way anymore. I'm not writing for loops. I'm not, extremely worried about understanding data structures and defining all of this stuff. Instead, I'm finding myself more in like a project management-ish or project management kind of role. And I say that because, the other day I had 12 agents going on a task and trying to refactor a big chunk of code. And it was really weird because it was just like this sort of moment where I'm looking at the computer screen thinking like, wow, this was impossible 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Just the LLMs, even the ones that were available just 2 years ago, just simply weren't as good at writing code as they are now. They're able to infer a lot more. The precision, of them is seems to be a lot better than it used to be. So it's definitely going to be a wild ride over the next, 12 months, 24 months as we sort of see where the industry goes. I know for the younger developers out there, they are wondering if they're making the right decision getting into this field or, struggling to find jobs. And I think that's unfortunately just going to keep getting worse for people. Just the need to write all this boilerplate code and all of that stuff just kind of isn't really necessary anymore. Now it's really all about system thinking and being able to design systems and kind of get all the pieces lined up to actually build the application and make it run. But setting up code is super easy now. I've built several different web applications already since I've been using Copilot just for myself. That took me, a weekend to build that might have taken months before to build. And it's just pretty incredible to see just the transformation that we've had and what just a single developer can actually achieve now. And with that said, though, there are still some pretty big problems, when working with these LLMs and really large code bases and really complicated applications. They do tend to fall apart a bit more, and but that is getting better, and I think it's been progressively getting better. And maybe that's just a part of me getting better at using them and interacting with them and writing up specifications and all the sort of newfangled ways of doing things that we have. But I think without question, we're seeing the improvements in their ability to do complex reasoning and solve problems for us that we just couldn't do in that short of time before. So it's been been a really cool, interesting, wild ride. I myself, I'm choosing to go back to school and study artificial intelligence. I do kind of see it being the future. I don't see a world where we are writing code in the same way. I think even Elon Musk recently said that, they want to go basically straight to the binary. Like, they don't even want to have code. You basically just tell an LLM or whatever that artificial intelligence is what you want, and then the output is a fully fledged operational application. No longer requiring compile or any of that kind of stuff. So it's going to be real interesting to see kind of how fast this progresses and where the world ends up as a part of this. So, yeah, I know this is kind of a rant and kind of going a bunch of different directions, but I just thought it might be fun to talk about, give me something to express sort of my feelings on it. I still think software engineering as a whole is an incredibly powerful skill, and we need people that can think about these types of problems and come up with creative ways to solve them. But I think the way that we're going to do it is just going to be vastly different. There's not going to be this. There still will be a need for like a real deep technical understanding, but when we're approaching a state where the LMs can do things better than a human, and I think soon it's going to be just absolutely the case. Then, where do we come in? Like what do we actually need to do? In a lot of ways, right now, it just comes down to cleaning up silly mistakes, security problems, just poorly written kind of slop code, as people want to call it, but it's just getting better and better. Every new model that comes out, it's you see some form of improvement, and in some ways there's a regression, and they get a little bit worse at some things, or maybe they don't perform as quickly or what have you. But in the end, it's I truly do believe it's the future, and I think we're going to be living with this forever going forward. And I think it's also really, really cool to sort of be at the precipice of this. I would say the, software side of things is, seeing the most tangible benefits out of this, right? We as developers have to understand complexity and spend a lot of time reading documentation and debugging code and all of that sort of stuff, and AI has just made that infinitely easier. When I can jump into a new project and just go have an agent explore the code base for me and come back with a summary, point me at specific files, point me at functionality, explain the functionality, help me understand the tests or build tests around it so I can actually, sort of visually see the code functioning. All that stuff is been made really easy now with LLMs, and it's kind of fantastic. But I've also heard some others talk about how they sort of feel like they're getting dumber. And yes and no, maybe. I guess I don't know how I totally feel about that. Like, in ways now, it's like I'm able to understand things faster than I ever could have before. I might have had to go dig through some abstract documentation to make sense of some function usage, and now I can just have an LLM do that for me, and it takes 2 seconds. And I don't know if that makes me dumber or if I'm just working smarter. So yeah, and then from the business side of it, it's interesting. I think there's a lot of good reason to be wary of where this goes. If employers don't need to pay a software engineer $100,000, $200,000 a year, and they can get an agent to do all of that work for thousands, and it doesn't complain, it doesn't need raises, it doesn't need insurance, there's no doesn't say no, it just kind of goes and runs and does whatever you ask it to do, right? There's going to be a lot of tangible opportunities for businesses to cut costs in the form of people. And my hope in that is that, just like people have said with other technologies that have come before it, even the advent of the computer, the tractor, the whatever, more jobs still came, and we found new things to do. People had work and were able to do more than they were able to do before because of the technology. And I certainly hope that's the case here, but we'll see. I want to be positive about it. I definitely want to believe that there's still a future where we get to do what we love. I know, speaking for myself, I love writing code. I love building applications. The whole process is enjoyable. It's getting to do something creative with my hands, and taking nothing and turning it into something effectively, right? Text on the screen to something that actually does something and interacts with the real world, or helps somebody out there do their job, or whatever it is. Those things are it's like a superpower in a sense, right? Not many people get to have that luxury and or have that ability to go put something together like that. And I think it's something that I feel very grateful for and fortunate to be able to do. But that doesn't stop the fear. Being at the leading edge of this and using these models every day has definitely gave me a different behind the scenes look, right? I'm not just asking it to help me make a recipe or find directions or whatever. I'm like actually using this to do my job and do something that I've done for years and I've loved doing for years. And it's definitely interesting, and it's definitely scary. So yeah, I don't know what else I want to talk about this. Definitely kind of a ranty topic. I'll have to do some edits around this to make this a little bit cleaner of a video. There's a couple things I guess I do want to talk about is, staying relevant, I guess. The reality is that we need to learn how to work with these tools. The businesses that we work for are going to ask us to try to find new ways to use these things to solve operational issues, different business problems that they have. And we need to start working with it. So, one of the big things I've done is really start trying to write my own agents using tools like LangGraph, and, it just becomes really, really interesting and cool to see what's possible. A lot of ways I don't think we've even scratched the possibilities. We've got, OpenClaw that came out, and that, kind of took the world by storm and started like really showing people like at a sort of normal perspective, like what these things can do. Go manage your email, go do this, go do that, order me a pizza, like all these really cool things that, yes, you could do yourself. You could pick up the phone and make a call or whatever, but the fact that you could, instruct an agent to do that kind of stuff, handles all these different things, or, for research purposes or whatever, right? There's a lot of just really positives to it. And I think it's up to us to just pivot and make a change and start really drilling into how we can operationalize these tools. They are expensive to run, we know that, but that'll get cheaper over time. Some of the models that can perform seamless actions actually are quite cheap to run now. Not everything needs to run on Opus 4.6 or the whatever the latest OpenAI models are. But yeah, so just a kind of fun rant topic video. Hoping to hear some comments from people who might be in the same boat as me. If you're an engineer out there who is, wondering what does this mean for your career, you're not alone. I think a lot of us are feeling this. There's detractors and not, right? Where we got some people who are saying this is all overblown, the bubble's gonna burst and it's gonna disappear. And then you got to the total other side of that, which is like AI is taking over the whole entire world. And for the time being, I see it kind of in the middle. It's definitely not perfect. It messes up plenty, but it's getting better. There's things that you can do to help steer it in the right direction, to help prevent some of that, you're absolutely right kind of loops that you get stuck in sometimes with these agents, where you're saying that you didn't get that thing right, but so yeah, I guess that's the main thing I want to talk about. I did have a script written up for this, but I thought it might be more fun just to kind of talk about it. So sorry for the informality. Hopefully people have found some of this interesting, some of my thoughts interesting. And Yeah, might do some more of these. Might try to talk a little bit more about it as I learn more. Like mentioned in the video, I'm going to school now for it, so I'm definitely going to be spending a lot more time, learning about model training and building out tools with this as well. I'm already starting to do some of that in my professional environment, and trying to find interesting ways I can do that just for myself as well. And yeah, so thanks a lot for watching.